There's a reason why the Club World Cup could happen every 2 years now, and it's not just because of FIFA. You see, that's the big news today, but with European football back, Neymar in a relegation battle, and the transfer window going into its final weeks, we have a lot to get through first. Now, Neymar's biggest career losses were 4-0 against Barcelona when he was still playing for Santos, and then 4-0 against PSG when he was playing for Barcelona. Unfortunately, yesterday, however, that changed as Vasco beat Santos 6-0. Santos fans had their backs turned to the match at one point, and even his friend Coutinho got in on the action. Neymar was crying after the match, as you probably saw, and their manager, he couldn't even get to the press conference before the board sacked him. Santos sit 15th in the table, just 1 point ahead of Vasco, who have a match in hand, so they are literally in a relegation battle. A team that was almost in a relegation battle last year was United, and even though they lost to Arsenal yesterday, Ruben Amorim said, quote, "Today we proved that we can beat every team in the Premier League." A little ironic because they literally lost, but I think we can all recognize they're a lot more organized with more quality this season. Gyökeres, failing to get a single shot in a league match for the first time since 2023, had him getting flamed on Twitter. Sesko is the worst striker I've watched in the Premier League since Gyökeres 30 minutes ago is crazy. Now, even if it wasn't from them, we did get some pretty sick goals this weekend. An honorable mention, bro, has to go to Giroud just because he's 38 years old and scored on his debut back in Ligue 1. At number 5, though, is Lamin's strike to the top bins. At number 4 is Dan Ndoye's header for Nottingham Forest on his debut. At number 3 is Julian Alvarez's nasty free kick and Atletico's 2-1 loss to Espanyol. At number 2 is Luca Bacchio's banger from like 35 yards out. Honestly, this could have been number 1, but scoring an awkward header from here to win your team the match against Atletico is just crazy work. Let me know if I missed any. Ezeus would have been on there if his free kick counted. Speaking of which, he might have played his last match for Palace because after the match you could tell he was kind of emotional, like he knew. I mean, Palace also inquired about Solis from Club Brugge and El Canoes from Leicester City. Both of them are ballers, but if I was in charge, I would be going after Harvey Elliott. Other transfer news includes murmurs that Arsenal have inquired about Semenyo, who put this message out after he got racially abused during the Liverpool match this weekend. The whole football community came together to support him. Anyways, Bayern and Nkunku have reached an agreement on personal terms. Now it's up to the clubs. Chelsea want a permanent transfer while Bayern want a loan, which makes sense because Ultimata plays the same position and that's who they want long term. Liverpool are rumored to be putting in a new bid for Marguehi soon. Could have been a mix-up, but it looked like after the match he ignored his manager. And then United, now that Baleba isn't going to happen, is being linked to Adam Wharton, but that's pretty much impossible if both Marguehi and Eze leave this summer. As for the Club World Cup, FIFA are considering expanding the tournament to 48 teams as well as removing the 2-team per country limit. But the big change wasn't proposed by FIFA. Real Madrid proposed the idea of having the Club World Cup every 2 years. Now, other teams that weren't able to compete in this year's edition of the tournament, like Liverpool, Barcelona, and Napoli, all supported the idea because this is a pretty big revenue source for these clubs. Obviously, the fixture list is crazy, so a possible option is removing the international break in June. That specifically would cause tension with UEFA because they have the Nations League. The thing is, even though I really honestly did enjoy the tournament this summer, no matter how you do it, unless you get rid of other competitions, it just seems like a death sentence for these players from a fitness perspective at this point. Anyways, that's the news, so come back tomorrow if you want to stay updated.